life is how you feel about yourself.
It is.
Like, it comes down to, how do I feel about me on a daily fucking basis, and not do I buy this thing to get attention, to make some external thing feel good about me.
I got to tell you, after starting this episode, going through certain traits that I found on Entrepreneur Magazine that they say, helps people get to being successful and making multi-millions, and things that these people do naturally. And I recognize a lot of these traits and ideas and kind of functions also, John and Maurice do naturally, knowing them personally, and myself. But I wanted to get through and get some real stories on how they got to be that way. Because everybody can read something, everybody can hear something, and we can spit these things. But when you hear real stories of why they might have operated one way and now they operate this way, in one result what they got and now the result they get, I really think there's some amazing takeaways on this episode. I couldn't be happier with the way Business and Biceps is going, and I really want to get to the show. So let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Business and Biceps. And you better wake your ass up, because on today's show, Maurice Clarett and John Fosco have no idea what we're going to talk about. I've got all the questions right here, and I'm going to bring it to them and see what they got. Literally off the top.
There we go.
Yeah, right. I said hit record. I'm gaming the system, motherfucker.
Hey, Cory. Fuck with me, I got it.
Yeah. I know, Rick Ross. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go. Hey, listen, it's brought to you by Boston Sword and Tuna, shop.bstseafood.com. Appreciate you, Mike Scola. If you guys want to have some of the best fish on the East Coast, go to Boston Sword and Tuna. Once again, shop.bstseafood.com. Put in BIZBIS 15 for 15% off. We got Four Sigmatic. They are back. John's drinking mushroom coffee like crazy. You want to make sure and stay locked in. You got to check out Four Sigmatic, FOURSIGMATIC.com/biz, BIZ, 15. Check that out. We'll get more in detail on their products later in the show. And lastly, because we're icy, John Fosco, Maurice Clarett, Vincero Collective. They are here to support you guys. You got to look fresh when you're out there in the marketplace. You got to check out Vincero, VINCERO, collective.com. And they want to give you guys 15% off. And of course, the promo code is BICEPS.
The best watches for $150.
They are. They started $139. And look, they're supporting us, so we support you. So here's the deal. Maurice Clarett, John Fosco, as we were logging in here today, we are the 79th biggest podcast on the planet. Out of all categories, right? All categories. Doesn't matter whether you're a comedian, you're in business. It's really exciting, and I want to commend you guys.
Thank you to our listeners.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Johnny.
No, honestly, it's all the listeners listening to our crazy asses, and it just keeps snowballing. And dude, I'm just so appreciative, because I wake up this morning, I see that, it makes me even more excited to do this, and it affirms that we're doing at least something right, guys. So I thank every fucking listener.
No, make sure you guys, real quick, make sure you guys keep subscribing and leaving reviews, because we read them every week, and I know that is helping keep us in the top 10. Go ahead, Reese.
Yeah, no, I was going to tell them we're 79, so what I need everybody to do is to tell a friend, and then have that friend tell a friend, and then have that friend tell a friend, and maybe we'll improve and go forward.
Yeah. Top 10 in business is very highly competitive.
Yes.
Overall 79. I'm proud of us, but we ain't at the top yet, so we're going to keep pushing. All right. So here's the deal. We're going to go a little rapid fire. I've been reading some, I've been studying on you guys a little bit. Just studying an Entrepreneur Magazine and some other things online. And I saw some traits of successful people, things that maybe you did as a young person or as you developed. And I'm just going to throw things at you guys, and I want to hear your feedback if you're in this category. And if you have a story around it, I think that'd be very cool. And one of the first traits of a successful entrepreneur early in life is that they make money at a young age. And so now, whether it's legal or illegal, I still want to talk about it. I'm not pointing any fingers here. I'm just saying. When I say that, John Fosco, can you remember the first time as a young person that you were grinding to make a little cash, and how young was it and what was it?
Yes, 7 years old, before GameStop was GameStop. I talked about this on Drama's podcast. It was called Funco Land, and my mom will still talk about it today. She would watch 30-year-old men, managers of stores. Literally, when I would walk in the door as a seven-year-old with like 10 Nintendo games, they would literally be like, "Oh, fuck, this kid again? My God." And I would always get what the fuck I want, and I would never accept the set prices that they had for video games, right?
Yeah.
And I would smash them, and that's where I found my love for negotiation. But if we're talking about putting money in our pocket, I also touch on this. So when everyone's partying in high school, what I would always do at the high school parties is set up the card game. I would set up a poker game, and everybody who thought he fucking knew how to play cards or hustle would sit down at the table. I'd pull my man outside who'd sit on my right, and I'd say, "Listen, I'm giving you a double tap on this hand." And then he didn't know I was pulling my man on the left outside about 20 minutes later, and I told him I was going to triple tap him on this hand. And every fucking high school party, which was Friday and Saturday, I would take home, I don't know, 500, 600, 700, sometimes $1,000, because I would clean everybody out and nobody knew that I was working both sides of the table next to me. So, when you're playing poker with 6, 7 people and I own about 50% of the real estate, but nobody knows it, which is AKA 3 people. Yeah, that's how I was filling my pockets when I was in high school.
Love it. Reese, your turn.
Yeah, well, it's two different instances. I can remember this was in elementary school, if however you say the shit, grade school, right? So in grade school, I can remember we had this big place called Candyland, right? This was the first thing into entrepreneurship. And a lot of kids just basically weren't allowed to roam the neighborhood or go outside of their block. But my mother worked, 45 minutes away from where we lived at. So I was going down there, grabbing candy, bundling it up, and then coming back to the school and selling it to my friends. That was the first thing. I think the second thing that was just like basic, like I think this is like very fucking American, is that when the grass was high, I would grab our lawnmower, just go cut people's grass, literally for $5, $10, $15, whatever they'd give to me at the time. And I know kids don't do it anymore just because labor is not a thing, but then I also would shovel snow. And as I got older, when it came to and this is nothing, I don't say this in any proud way, and I use it to teach, but it came into selling drugs. And oftentimes, and I say this with context because I don't want this to be misconstrued that I like believe it or advocate for it, but in the environment that we're in the environment of the inner cities, oftentimes through just circumstance, you believe that, this is how people make money, and defying the cops or defying authority is just like the normal thing. It becomes a cool thing based upon culture. And so, the first time that I actually seen somebody, either they purchase dope or they purchase weed, and, I can buy, an ounce of weed for $70 and I can, resell it amongst my friends and make, 140 or 150, that was a thing that, it catches all young guys' attention. I can remember the first time even selling dope, this was, a lady taught me. I had seen my brothers, but I never seen somebody, turn cocaine into actual crack. And when a lady taught me, I was like, okay, this is a real thing. And I understand how this process works. I understand how to sell it to the end user. And oftentimes the end user is a person who's addicted to drugs, but you learn the mechanics. And as you get older, you say, okay, this is where I'm sourcing the product from. This is where I'm selling it. This is how I'm allocating my capital. And you start to understand that even as a kid, you have a gift inside of you, or you have something that you enjoy, but just the vehicle that you're applying these skills to just isn't, it doesn't support humanity, and it's not legal. So with that being said, nothing proud of it, but at a young age, I was very excited to I can buy this and I can sell it here and I can make some more money. And the more I do it, or the more places I do it, the more money I make. So I'm just proud that I learned the mechanics, but I'm not proud that, you push this shit onto people and make them or become more addicted to what they have.
Yeah, of what the vehicle was what you're saying, right, Reese?
Yeah, right mechanics, wrong vehicle.
Yeah, so my first kind of thing was baseball cards. I think that, now it's Pokemon or whatever, but back in the day, I just remember understanding that I could trade
Pokemon.
Yeah, Pokemon. I understand that now. It was like, hey, I can get a common card of somebody that's emotionally attached to a brand new player. I would do my research on who the Hall of Famers were. Kids would bring their dad's card collection to school, and man, I'd be trading these common cards. Like I'll call it the heist. I heisted this dude one time. I'm not really super proud of it, but I knew. I said, man, go ahead and bring in Terry Bradshaw, O.J. Simpson, Joe Montana, Bart Starr. I mean, Deacon Jones, dude, all these rookie cards, right? I cleaned him up for like a 4-year Ken Griffey Jr., Bo Jackson, all the stuff that was hot that wasn't really worth any money at the time, and literally put a multi-$1,000 card collection. And that's what kind of started my little business, to where I would go to these card shows and deal with some of these guys and sell them. I remember I sold a Fran Tarkenton rookie from the Vikings for $200 at my grandma's yard sale one time. And then I sold a Roger Staubach rookie for like $150. And I'm doing this when I'm like, 12, 13, 14 years old, and understanding like, okay, I made the deal and I put some money in my pocket. And my grandma, she was mad because she sat there all weekend and didn't even make $200. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where I really believe that made me understand that if I did my research, I could get my money. And then that really kind of opened some things up for me. Now, Johnny, I know you got another story you want to hit on. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I touched on this once before, but I want people to grasp this, because this I'm proud of, but kind of like what Maurice said, whatever. I'll just tell the story. So when I was in high school, offshore internet gambling was fully legal. And because it was illegal for offshore books in the Bahamas and the Cayman Islands to take money from people under 21, when you sent money to them, just by them accepting it and them not validating that you were 21, which they all did, they were committing a crime. So I identified the fact that, well, shit, they're committing a crime. They're not validating I'm 21. So what I did is I figured out that when you sent them money, it took 24 hours through Western Union, called Quick Collect, to get to them, right? So I was like, wait a minute. If it takes 24 hours to get to them, and I have, let's say, $2,000 in my pocket, what if I go to Western Union at 6 p.m. and I bet on the Cowboys for $2,000 at 7 p.m. And if they win, I let my money arrive. But if the Cowboys lose, I call up Western Union and send the money back to me, because I figured out it took 24 hours. So this fucking worked. And every time I would place a bet and it won, it would show up. And I'm 17 years old. I'm collecting $5,000. See, what would happen is this: if you lost, all you needed was another friend with a new name to come and say, okay, buddy, we're going to throw $10,000 on the Chiefs tonight, and I'll give you 2% of it if we win. So basically, these companies, because of their 24-hour lag in receiving funds, were vulnerable to somebody placing a bet immediately, seeing the outcome within 4 hours, and sending the money back. So there was one point in time at 17 years old, as a junior in high school, where I walked out of a Western Union. I pooled all my friends' money together with $20,000 in fucking cash. And I still remember to this day this woman's look on her face like, what the fuck are you up to, kid? And I am proud to say that after that, all the offshore books stopped accepting Western Union Quick Collect, and they literally would not let you bet until the money arrived.
Probably because of John Fosco.
No, I'm serious. I hit about 50 sports books that were offshore. I'm dead serious.
The John Fosco rule. That's what that is.
Bro, I stacked paper so hard. It was ridiculous.
I stacked paper so hard.
He's got to. Yes. You helped to establish new regulations. That's all he did.
Yeah, exactly.
Pushing the limits. All right.
That's what
Perfect.
I did.
I love it. I love it. Great stories, guys. Next is, when did you guys realize that you probably were, and I'll start with you, Maurice, because John just went, say almost like an overachiever. Most people, that whether it's sports or it's just life in general, was there a point where you thought wait a second, the rest of whom I'm around is not operating in this manner, whether it's extra push-ups, it's extra practice, it's extra whatever. Like at some point you start to stick out a little bit, and not just because you were a man child, Reese, but because I know your work ethic was crazy. Is there a point where you were like, I think I am a little different and I need to keep
Yeah.
riding this?
Oh, even when you said, I'm glad you even pose these questions just on the spot because it's serious. I can remember just as a kid, I just had a vision in my mind when I'm walking down the street, and it's me, my buddy Juwan Pfeiffer, Brian Magali, and I don't know who the fourth guy was with us. But I just remember just always having this mentality that I'm pushing the limit. I'll do more. I'll go steal the car first. I'll break in the house first. I'll sell the drugs first. Or even when it came to football, I'll stay here all night and lift the weights. I'll watch more film. And I can remember my peers just looking at me like, like they used to call me machine, right? They said, dude, you work like a machine because like nothing stops. You don't stop. You just keep on going and going and going and going. And I can relate that just to football. I can relate it to even how I do with books now. I'll turn into a fucking machine if I want to learn something, and I just don't have. I'm fortunate. I don't have the hey, I only work between 9 and 5, and I just cut everything else off. But I just have like, hey, if I want to attain something, I want to do something, I'll just work until I accomplish what it is that I want to accomplish. And so I would say from an early age, I didn't know what it was, but I did recognize that I just outworked or I wanted more than my peers. And I still think it's the same way. I was in a meeting yesterday, and we were talking, and I was like, these are people who are in government, and oftentimes in government, you have established boundaries, you have established things, and you have a criteria that you're trying to meet. And I was asking him, I said, man, how much do you all dream, and how much do you all think of creating? Because I said to our my staff all the time, I say, your special sauce is in creation. Your special sauce is in, you imagining that you create the life that you want to live. You don't let somebody else say, hey, this is what you can have. And just that mentality in general, I think that's an entrepreneurial mentality, just to say, hey, I'm creating, I'm different, I'm pushing the boundaries. Nobody's telling me what to do. I have the belief inside of the thinking that I have that I can create the life that I want as long as it's matched by work ethic. And that's sort of like where I'm at with that whole deal. But I found out from an early age.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say to that, and I'm going to preface it with, again, this is not something I'm proud of, and I've grown out of this, but I realized, when you're in junior high, when you're in high school, guys, it's almost like prison in a super minor way. Like people are put on a pedestal if they're feared. So I realized that if I was willing to do what other guys weren't, that people would fear me, right? And in exchange for fear, everything would be easier for me. So I'm like, well, if I just got to make people fear me, then I'll do whatever I got to take. So for me, that was, I'll fight anybody. I don't care. Like if you hit, like everyone was so scared to get in a fight. Like I would just go up and I'm not proud of this. And I would just fuck people up, right? Especially I came into new high schools. But what happens is you realize in the environments you're in that people are operating on like a lower level of consciousness. And I became someone that, everybody like respected and everybody would come to. And I identified that my way to get there was through making examples out of people. And I'm not proud of it, but Core, that's how I kind of realized doing something hard would get me to a place where I would be in a position that other people weren't. And that was kind of how I did it.
So I think what mine first kind of clicked in is obviously early on I started reading about Arnold and their work ethic, meaning the golden era bodybuilders. And I realized at a pretty young age that I was an okay athlete, but the amount of work that I would have to put in just to be like able to be in the mix. So I would put in hours on my jumper, which is still broke, by the way, hours on hours on all this stuff, hours on lifting, and I still wouldn't be the strongest person. So I kind of took on that kind of 6-man, I guess, mentality real young. And I think that I still have that mentality, and it's really something I grabbed early. I didn't realize it would transfer over, I think, into business like it has for me. And I constantly try to keep that mentality of the underdog or try to be an overachiever for what I was given, whether it's athletically or, academically or whatever that may be. And so I think that sports and fitness did that for me. And once I realized that, okay, this is just me. Like, I'm not a person that goes, well, this is the card you're dealt. I just realized that if sports, from a sports standpoint, that's what it was going to take for me to just be in the discussion, then that just is what it is. And really, I just started taking that approach with everything. And so what I did was I was like, I just assume that I'm going to have to do more than what everybody else does to get the same result. And honestly, I've just operated that way for a really long time. And that's where it came from. So,
but Cory, I mean, even when you say that, but I think that's the greatest. I think just the mentality is the greatest gift,
yeah,
or developing a mentality or having that mentality is kind of the greatest gift, and it's really on you. Like as I sit here and talk to John, like even and I don't, this is not to minimize or make an excuse for what took place, but when you make a decision, whether you're doing something illegal or illegal or legal, it makes sense in the moment that you're making it.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this makes sense now. And it's not to glorify it, but I say this in the spirit of encouragement, because I'm pretty sure there's people on this podcast who have done some bullshit or doing some bullshit now.
Of course.
And it's really to find a gift like, okay, even though this is illegal, what is the stuff that I can extract from this that is actually good, or what are some, like, because as I'm hearing John, I'm like, okay, John just mechanically found a way to take advantage of something, you know what I'm saying? And so you apply those mechanics, or you apply that way of thinking to something else, and your whole fucking life change. It doesn't mean everything about that is bad, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I guess I'm speaking from I deal with a lot of guys with reentry, guys coming back to society, and so society would say, like, you're bad, you're a piece of shit, you did so many things wrong. No, you just got caught doing some stupid shit, but there was things that you can apply, the work ethic and the diligence and the focus that you did on something illegal. If we find a path and journey that you can apply those same skills to and somewhere positive, you can be a fucking success story.
True. No, that's true, Reese. I think that it's like, you're not defined if you make a mistake. I mean, that's the thing, is like, you can take those things away from those both of those things you guys talked about and apply them in a proper manner. We're all doing it right now. I mean, it's like, you're not just done because you worked a system here, or Reese, you got in trouble with that. You can always apply them in the proper manner. You're not just, if you're doing something you're not proud of right now, you can still change it. I mean, that's it.
Right. You can change it. And to Maurice's point, it's like, you can learn lessons. So I'm absolutely not proud of how I handled myself in high school. But one thing I will say is that mindset, right, of like, you're going to have to respect me, I've taken into business, Cory, and obviously we've seen with negotiations and how I deal people, I'm willing to fight them mentally at the drop of a hat at any time. Yep. And it's because it's for the gain of our business or the gain of an objective. So it's the same thing, but it's just done in a different format.
Yeah, I love it. All right, next one, because obviously you guys don't know what I'm about to say. So the next one is, did you guys start to realize, and this, I did, absolutely, the open mind constantly that it takes, or the optimism that you kept, and maybe you haven't always been this way, but I have a guess that probably both of you guys have been, compared to the rest of the people that were kind of around you? Was there a time when you thought, like, wait a second, I'm thinking, and these are all kind of traits of people that have been successful, is where I got this from, and they start to realize early in life, like, wait a second, I think this way, I believe or have faith, and this person's really saying something else, and it's not just him, it's really like 95% of the people or more around me. Was there a time where you guys realized, I'll start with you, John, where you were more optimistic than your peers or just your situation?
Absolutely. So like when I really started working in something that I could say was directed towards growing my career, I would always talk to people, and I would be so excited about hitting these goals that were bestowed upon us. And they're like, man, that shit's so hard. I'm like, guys, that's what makes it fucking amazing, is that, like, it's probably not going to happen in most of your minds, but if we come together, we can do it. And I realized throughout that point and further points with other partners that I always, and Cory, you probably see this with me, I always believe, in a way, there's always a road to get what you want. And when people are sitting there saying no, it's almost like what we talked about the other day. What's the other option? Like in business and in life,
No option.
optimism is the only way to live. Because guess what? If I'm optimistic that we're going to put out a product and sell 5 million of them and we only sell 50,000 of them, right? Like I don't lose anything. At least I was putting that positive energy out and I did my damnedest to sell 5 million. Now does everyone in the world at some point come up short? Fuck,
Of course.
yes. But if you believe that you could sell 5 million and you sell 50,000, here's what I guarantee you. The guy who thought he could sell 2,000 is going to sell 100, right? I thought I was going to sell 5 million and I sold 50,000. So optimism and a positive belief is something I've always had. And I never could understand why someone in a business setting thought that being negative towards a goal or an approach could help them. Mm-hmm. That to me is like speaking a different language. So I've always bet on personal optimism.
Do you think, John, it's a question for you I want to ask, and Reese, you can weigh in on it. Do you think that you can be successful being pessimistic?
No, absolutely fucking not.
I don't
no
think
fucking way. Guaranteed 1,000,000%.
What do you think, Reese?
Well, I'll say this. I don't want to be like an analytical asshole. It depends on what you define.
Please, Reese, be an analytical asshole.
It depends on what you define as success. But when we're talking about like massive monetarily, doing great in business from an entrepreneurial standpoint, fuck no.
Yeah.
I think that, I really believe, and I've told, Ashley's my lady, and obviously Ashley's starting her deal out in an entrepreneurial journey, right? And in the process of doing that, and I tell everybody, I said, if you don't go halfway crazy while you're building your business, you're not really involved in it. And I really believe that. Right. And I think you go halfway crazy from being optimistic. And as you're optimistic and you're fighting against so many people, not fighting, but you're sort of trying to ignore and say, shut the fuck up for the people who don't believe that your thing will work, or they just don't see what you see when it comes time to fulfilling your dream or building your dream or chasing what it is that you're talking about. So like John Fosco, I'm like, when people say, hey, I'm going to sell 5 million, or I'm going to do this, or I want to have this many franchises, for them, those are their thoughts that they put on their dreams and what they believe can happen, right? You know what I'm saying? They don't understand the grit, the hunger, the grind, the fucking belief that you have inside of you. So I say it all the time, and I hope people don't get like fucking redundant from hearing it. Like your vision establishes your belief system, and it establishes your discipline. Like it's this that belief. It's like John believes it to be true. He visualizes it to be true. So that establishes the discipline and the fucking daily routine and the grind that he feel that he's going to take to make this thing happen. And all this shit just comes back to your mind and your mentality. And I wholeheartedly believe that I'm just halfway crazy, because I believe that anything that I'm involved in, I think is going to work. And just because I don't find you, I'm just serious. I believe like so, and I may have said this 1,000 times, because I walk around trying to encourage motherfuckers every fucking day, from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep. So oftentimes I say the same things over and over, but I never know where I say them. But I remember having a meeting yesterday, and I said, look, right, so I'm very inspired by Elon Musk and Walt Disney. I think those are just two. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other motherfuckers to be inspired by, but those two dudes inspire me, right? And so I always say, like, if this dude can fucking change the way we do banking, or with PayPal, if you can change how you accept payment, right? If you can fucking just build this fucking car, this is not Henry Ford. This is motherfucking modern day. You know what I'm saying? If this motherfucker can send a spaceship to fucking outer space, and you have motherfuckers who can create an amusement park that the whole fucking world can enjoy, like, I have to be able to fucking take the podcast from 79 to 50. You know what I'm saying? Like, at bare fucking minimum, you have to be able to do this simple shit. Like, I have to be able to be like, so we treat clients, right? We help these guys to get their lives back. We help kids to get their lives back, right? We help people to govern themselves. I at least have to do this shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's people who have pushed themselves, who have prodded themselves, who have worked their motherfucking ass off, who have believed, who have cut out distractions. These people have like had supreme, like fucking Disney World that just didn't drop from the sky. Like motherfuckers built that shit. You know what I'm saying? And that was just in a person's mind, their thoughts and what they thought that they can accomplish. And like that shit in itself is inspiring because that's you, that's your team, that's your people. I'm sorry, I hit the fucking desk because I'm getting so pumped up. But like I'm serious, you know, like but like, you know, like max effort. This was a fucking thought. You know what I'm saying? And it will only go as far as you all believe it will go. You know what I'm saying? It's the same with everything. And this shit gets me so excited. But you have to have, back to your point, you have to have some fucking supreme optimism to believe like whatever I'm focused on or whatever I'm doing, the only thing that matters is this thing that I'm focused on. That's it. No distractions, no bullshit, no fucking around. Getting this thing and actualizing this thing. And that should be so fucking connected to who you are. It just feels so fucking good because that's living. That's living, like fucking actualizing your fucking imagination.
That is living.
Not going through the motions, living, creating, and laughing and struggling and developing yourself. That's what the fuck living is about.
I think that it's something I've done for a really long time, but I realize that people constantly need to hear it, that when you're into a business or a program or like, I always have supreme optimism because some people will think of the opposite way. They think, well, I don't want to get expect too much. And what if I get let down? Right. So I've just always thought of things the other way. Like I just believe it's going to work. If I'm getting involved in something, I believe it's going to work because of all the things I'm going to put around it to help it work. Now, sometimes there's situations things don't work, but most of the time things do work because of that and because of all the work, because of all the skills, because of all the things that's put in around it. But I've always chose to live optimistic. I just honestly, straight up, if you're listening to this podcast right now, I'm talking to you. It's just better living that way. I just think it is. Like, I just wouldn't want to walk around every day just fucking pissed off and just don't think anything's ever going to work. Like, it just, to me, seems like a way to live that just seems not that fun. I mean, it's not about money. It's not about this. It's about you choosing to look at the glass we talked about before, half full rather than half empty. There's just a choice when you get up every day. And I've always chose because I thought to myself, the quality of life is just so much better, John. It just is.
Oh yeah, dude. It's so much better. I couldn't agree more. And the one thing that I see from people who are, you know, trying to figure it out is they often confuse negativity with preparation. So they think you have to have positive and negative, right? Because you always have to be prepared. So you should prepare for the worst. But negativity, like I want to stress this to the listener, negativity isn't preparation. Sure, you could prepare to say, okay, we may have a down month in business. That's not negativity. What that is preparing for the worst, but always you need to expect the best. So if you're preparing for the worst, don't be negative, like, oh, if this happens, it's going to be so bad. Just simply say, okay, if this happens, what are we going to do to solve it? Everything is what are we going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? So please, just in short, never think preparation has to be negative. Because I believe preparation is positive, even if something that you perceive as negative is going on, like a decline in business. Positivity is the only thing that's going to get you out of that decline.
Here we go, John. But I'm sorry. This is what I'm saying to you, right? I think you said the biggest thing in the whole deal, and I think I don't want to sound like a fucking infomercial, but it's attitude. Like, I sound like a fucking. I'm telling you, I listen to this shit so much, it's like my fucking life. Everything comes back down to your fucking personal attitude. So even when you're sitting here talking about that shit, legitimately, it all comes down back to your fucking attitude.
No question. All right, next kind of thing on the list I have here is being able to defer gratification and live below your means if possible to get to your result. I think in the society that we're in right now, a lot of people get the job that maybe barely they make, 30, 40, and they're buying a Beamer already. I think that there's an art form and a discipline to being able to live below your means to get to where you need to be. And both you guys don't spend crazy money that I'm aware of. So I would like to hear from each one of you guys on this, and obviously on your way up to hopeful success,
Yeah, I mean, I think I've told this story before, but it's almost how I was shaped when I started, coming into some money through successes. My older brother would call me, and we would have these weekly conversations. What's your checking account balance at? We'd say, what's your balance at? What's your balance at? So as opposed, right, to everyone who starts coming into money and saying, what'd you buy this week? Right? Did you get a new car? Are you going to go on this vacation? We said, what's your balance at? It was like a race, right? It was like a marathon. Bro, I'm here. Fuck, what the fuck did you do this week? Oh man, I hit this deal. Okay, shit. And it was this healthy competition that I'm still addicted to. Now, unfortunately, we don't communicate as much as we did then, but to have my foundation be your balance is where the positive support comes from, not like, hey, are you going to get an Aston Martin now because you can afford one? Like that was never it. And I just want to tell people, like, if you guys watch people on social media and they need to show you them walking into a private jet, and they need to show you a Lamborghini that they rented on their fucking on their driveway. Like, those people, here's what they're doing. They're shifting the value and the focus off of themselves, and they're putting it onto those things because they're trying to trick you. They're trying to trick you and say, look at me. I created these things, the plane, the car. But at the end of the day, if you give a fuck about your listener, or if you give a fuck about anybody you're trying to teach, showing them something that they are not attaining is not helping them. It's making you look cool in your mind, which when that comes full circle, you actually, to real motherfuckers, look like a douchebag, bro. So I will never put out something that tries to minimize someone, and I will always put out stuff that's like, hey, how can I support you? What I'm doing with my personal fucking finances has nothing to do with who I am. Nothing.
Yeah.
So
I love it. Good, Reese.
Yeah, well, I'm like living example right now. And we had this conversation prior to me getting on the phone, right? So I live like supremely well below my I probably live like a fucking college student, to be honest with you. The only thing I spend money on is fucking food, because I don't think you should compromise on things that you like actually enjoy. But my view on money is like completely different. And like, just to piggyback off of what John said, I think when you're younger, and I was guilty of this, when you think that I want to be successful, you think success needs when you first come into money, like, I need to show people, so I have to buy an expensive ass car and set myself back. I have to, scrummage up every fucking dollar I got to put this huge down payment on this home, or I got to rent this lifestyle. And really, just financially, you put yourself at a disadvantage. And I learned that, I'm only running on a hamster wheel if I'm basically trying to purchase things to look good for others, when it just isn't the best for me and my financial future. And so for me, like, legitimately, I have people who I employ who live better than me, and like, that's crazy. Like, I be looking at them like, yo, like, you can't afford that. You know what I'm saying? You're just living way outside your means, and you're putting yourself in a position where you'll have to continuously work forever, just because you don't have the personal discipline to just save your money. Or how I view it is just, I employ my money. Like, I don't look at my money as just something I can stuff in the bank and put away. The more money that comes in, I say, okay, how can I put these little guys out in the street to make them work for me? You know what I'm saying? And what can I invest in, and how can that grow, and how can that compound to either grow our current business or buy some infrastructure that our business lives in. And, if I decided not to grow it anymore, then I can just sit back and just collect money. But the money that I have in regards to our business is always working, but I never take it and spend it on myself. I think it does a few things. I think when you buy just certain materialistic things and you're just fresh into money, this is just my personal opinion. I think when you buy the Aston Martin. Now you have to go places where the Aston Martin belongs. You know what I'm saying? Now you have to buy the clothes and the shoes, and now you have to be at the parties, and now, you have to have friends with the new Mercedes. And just, I think the focus on what you have to do and what you're trying to do once you fresh come into money, right? But guys who have been established for a while, and just like the thing is a thing because so much is established, it's a different focus. And that's just my personal opinion, and I can't tell anybody what to do. But to get to the point of your question, Cory, is like, let's think like this. I live in a house right now, 2,200 square feet, and I pay $1,000. Look at this. I pay $1,000. Like, I'm totally cool. I don't need to go anywhere and buy some big elaborate thing right now because I have other things that I'm trying to accomplish. But and saying all that, like, I can just take money that I make on a monthly basis and just say, hey, just out of order, I just want to put this huge down payment on this big fucking illustrious house, and just to have it. But just for me, where I'm at right now, it just doesn't make a whole bunch of fucking sense. And like I told you, I think my house is nothing more than my storage facility. It just stores my things. I sleep here, but I'm so actively out in the world, fucking moving around and doing business, that the house or things are trying to impress things. But I think some of the shit even comes back to yourself. Like, I put on fucking, like John Fosco, we dress the same way. I put on jeans, a fucking shirt, a suit when I have to, but my things don't make me. And I think a lot of this shit comes back to you personally. If you're just cool with yourself and you know who the fuck you are, like, whatever you buy doesn't mean shit. You know what I'm saying? And like, all right, you feel I'll let you all go.
No, you're good. I was going to point that out, that is kind of why I liked asking this question, especially for you two guys, is because I've known both of you almost as long as each other, and we're all fans of certain items and things. And John collects art, and Maurice, we've talked about cars a lot of times, but I've never heard either of you guys like hang your hat on a piece of anything. But it just doesn't. You know what I mean? Like, it's not the way you guys operate, which is awesome.
I think
because that it's like,
I hang my hat on me, exactly. Bro. I hang my hat on me.
But that's not how everybody operates right now, Johnny, as you know.
No, but that's what we're trying to talk about. Like how I told that story with the tow truck driver. Like, I hang my hat on if I could do more things like that. That's the shit that lights me up. That makes me want to tell you about it. Right. Not if I buy a $200,000 car. Right. Like which I'm not going to do. But it's like, that's what makes me hyped.
Yeah. No. So in the way that I kind of always set it up is, my narrative, which we've talked about multiple times, was I was tired of being fucking poor. That's why I think I woke up one day and was like, man, fuck this. I'm about to change it. This is how I think I can change it. And along the road, in multiple businesses, I was always, it seemed like even the other people I was working with, I was kind of on the back burner financially compared to them. And it just kind of always kind of felt that way. So I always felt like I had a delayed kind of gratification, even when this was that big or this was that big, whatever. And I think I just did a good job. I backed myself into a corner one time when I was young, and I got myself out of it financially. It wasn't crazy, but it was just something like I recognized, like, okay, got yourself out of control. When I was training, I was like, I had this going on and that. And I was like, you know what? Like, I never want to feel this way. Like, I understand what I did. I'm going to get out of this. I paid off everything. And then I kind of started fresh. And I think what I tried to do as I got older, no matter how much money I made and the goals I set, because I am a car guy, like this, like that, but there was things that I set and I would not pull the trigger on them until it had to be established with a goal. And even when I would pull the trigger on certain stuff or items that I know would continue me to be motivated because of the stuff I was into or liked, I never would look at it like this. Oh, I'm here. I would just look at it like, yo, it's working. Like, okay, keep going. And it would actually motivate me more. But my first motivation is not based on, hey, can I post it on social media, or hey, can I tell this person about it? Like, I have certain friends, you guys are two of them, that aren't 100%. Haters, that I can tell stuff to, and that they're like clapping for me, like, yeah, G, I know that's your thing, like, cool. And so it's one of those things where I think that I just had to be disciplined no matter at what points of my career I was at. And it doesn't matter what point you're at. You have to have the same discipline to wait till certain things make sense. Because if I look at, if I'm going to buy some type of a lavish type of item, I can't notice the payment. I can't notice what I spend for it. Like, it doesn't change my life. That's really what I waited towards.
Let me put something on top of that. See, so like as you're sitting here talking, I'm just looking at my former life, right?
Yeah.
So my former life, and like I like was very reflective of myself, right? And so if I have to have thing A to attract, such and such a woman or such and such friend,
Yep.
like the basis of that relationship isn't on me, right?
Correct.
It's all thing related, right?
Well, and they're not a real friend,
Exactly.
No,
right?
it's not. It's not a real friend. So, if this thing doesn't exist anymore, be it my career, be it my Bentley, my Rolls Royce, my Maserati, my Lamborghini, my Ferrari, it could be a fucking Acura. It's all relative to basically where you live at, right? If those things don't exist and that relationship is gone, like you're fucking wasting your time. Like you have to ask yourself, and I'm trying to this is more life advice in helping
Sure.
people not to get in trouble and in bad relationships, right? So like if they weren't attracted, like, so here we go, prime example. I'll just give my life story. Like I was in the NFL.
Please.
Yeah, just like fucking it's the truth, right? I'm in the NFL. I have my lady, and I'm in the NFL. So the NFL is not an option no more. Nothing swayed between me and her. You know what I'm saying? I go to prison, nothing sways between me and her, right? It's time to shop at Walmart, nothing sways between me and her. You know what I'm saying? And so like that's a real relationship. She likes you for you, you like her for her. That's what it is,
Yep.
right? And to save yourself so much time from building relationships with people or allowing them to get close based upon the things that you purchase or the access you have to places and people becoming part of your life because of that. Like this advice right here saves you all that fucking time. And then you start to realize that like, I don't want the headache. Like if I want this thing, I'm gonna want this thing because I want it and I can afford it. And just like Cory says, I'm not going to notice the payment, but I'm not going to get this thing to attract this thing, right? If it's just for sex, go fuck some prostitutes. You know what I'm saying? Go to porn. Seriously, you know what I'm saying?
It's got to be for it's got to be for you. Like it's got to be like inside you. So like if Cory's talking about a lavish thing, like
Love it.
Here's all I can say is like when I buy art, I'm happy. It makes me happy. It doesn't matter if it costs $100 or $1,000. It makes me happy surrounding myself with creativity and art, which, as you know, Cory, is all around my fucking house.
Which is super cool, by the way. I can respect. I love it.
It creates an atmosphere of happiness for me, and that's for me. It's not for anyone else.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you dig it, and I like when everyone else digs it. But it's for me, right? It makes me happy, and I think people should, if they can afford it, do things that makes them happy for them, not them happy because I hope me being happy is going to make this person happy. And like Maurice was saying, attract to me. Do things for yourself.
So here we go, John. Prime example. You're basically saying life is how you feel about yourself.
Yeah, it is.
Like it comes down to how do I feel about me on a daily fucking basis, and not do I buy this thing to get attention to make some external thing feel good about me. Your happiness is in fucking side of you and things that make you happy, not buying a thing and wasting money and putting yourself in a financial downfall and financial win in a relationship and fundamentally saying this is why I attract this motherfucker in my life. And I'll let you go, Cory, because I'm getting pumped.
No, that's what we want. That's why I thought these topics were cool, because I knew it would spin off on stories and lifestyle things. Because what I'm realizing, right, at the Arnold Classic last weekend, we had so many people coming up, and John and I were meeting all these listeners, and we're telling them thank you for listening, and they're telling us they're literally taking what we're saying and applying it directly to their life. That's what this podcast is about, and that's where these discussions go, that somebody can think before they go to purchase this item or do this thing because they think their crowd of friends will think they're legit or whatever. But if they're not legit, they need to know, like, should I back myself in this corner because I got this rent? Now I'm going to have this car payment. Oh, yeah, and then I got this scooter. And then I really just want people to, when they listen to this, to say like, yo, let me save myself for myself for a second. I heard Reese, I heard Johnny and G say this, and like, maybe we so I just want people to think a little bit more before they can't wait to put it on social media. That's all. Because I remember what it feels like to be backed in a wall, and I just told myself, like, I won't do this to myself again, because that hamster wheel ain't no fun, everybody.
Right.
But see, like, listener, ask yourself, am I trying to do this for ass? Okay. I told you, go to
Yeah.
Pornhub.
Yeah.
Go to Pornhub, rub you
They're
one
not a
off, and then
sponsor,
see how you
everybody. They're
feel
not a
after that.
sponsor.
Just but this is what I'm talking about. Like, there's certain things that you can satisfy. Like, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but this is life shit. This is stuff that complexes man when you have bad relationships with people. You find out where it coming. You find out, like, I was the creator of it because I put the wrong bait out there to attract the wrong people for the wrong reasons. And like,
Yes.
anything built on anything wrong, anything built on something with the purpose of doing something demonic, like, that's the only thing that can come from it. You know what I'm saying? And I think this whole podcast is helping people to govern themselves better, to get themselves better in a better space mentally, physically, spiritually, from a business standpoint. And I just say this because I've had so many bad experiences from thinking I had to be something else or somebody else to have relationships, to act like I'm this big fucking machismo. And then when I went to fucking prison and I didn't have shit, I started to realize, like, oh, I'm just the shit just because I'm a person. You know what I'm saying? Just because I'm a human
Right.
being, and just because I'm honest, and just because, like, I can fucking naturally have a personality and laugh and joke and be cool with motherfuckers. And if I have that thing, it's cool, it's an extra, but it doesn't make me. And so from that mentality, how you build your life becomes fucking totally different, because whether you come down the street and make fun of me or whether you love me because of what I'm doing, driving, everything, it doesn't fucking bother me. It just doesn't.
Right.
Like, I don't compare myself to what, like, John, okay, you got millions, okay, you cool, all right, that's cool, fine, thank you, like, more power to you, but I'm gonna continue to do my own thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's
Absolutely.
it. Like, that's fucking life. To look at somebody, to appreciate them, to wish them success, because everything that you have inside of you and what you put into the earth, into the universe, and how you feel about somebody else's success, that shit will come right back on you and into your life. If you sow hate into the world, hate will come back onto you. If you get jealous from motherfuckers, like, that shit will come right back into your life. But when you happy for people and it's genuine, like, the world rewards you, because that's what the world is about, rewarding. Like, reward people for doing good shit. I don't know.
Hey, you know what, Reese?
And,
go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah. Real quick, I just want to say, like, regarding what Maurice just said, have the courage, right? You got to have the courage to evaluate your circle. And Cory, I know we've used this statement all the time. Keep your circle tight, but keeping your circle tight, the importance of it, guys, is like when you keep your circle tight and you keep people around you that do not judge you based on the car you drive, the house you live in, or what you do. They just love you for you. Then you can start investing in you, thinking for you, and not have to question, is Maurice still gonna like me, or is Cory still gonna like?
Yeah.
Like, if you have to question that about the people closest to you, you need to probably evaluate whether those people should be in your life. So just have the courage to look at your circle, and don't be afraid to make it smaller, because I'll tell you this, authenticity and realness is so much more valuable than 100 fake motherfucking friends. Straight up. 2 good friends is way more valuable than 300 fake fucking friends that will fucking run away once you lose your car. So just have a little courage and evaluate that.
Hey, I ain't got a lot of friend openings. You feel me? Like, that's the way I started to get. That was one of my.
Me too.
Johnny took it. Johnny, I think between you and Reese, I took one of your guys' last ones. I know. I'm already aware. I feel good about having that friend spot. But
It's halftime. Hey, yo, it's halftime.
all right, Johnny, it's halftime. Of course, I know you're hungry for some fish, John. Is that
Well,
correct?
that is correct. But Cory, what I've learned, because I am now a fish connoisseur, thanks to Michael Scola,
Of course
right?
you are.
From shop.bstseafood.com. I'm a connoisseur, and I will only, and this is the truth, I won't even eat fish at the restaurant anymore unless Mike Scola gives me a list of restaurants that BST Seafood supplies. But when I eat seafood, it's only from Mikey Scola, and it gets delivered the next day. So literally, if you go online to shop.bstseafood.com and you order a live lobster, after Mikey jumps in and grabs it, he boxes it up and he sends it to you. It arrives at your door the next day. And for all you health conscious people, and we know that's the majority of our listeners, this is a fantastic, all the fish they offer, all the seafood, fantastic source of lean protein. This is the stuff that keeps you in shape. And oh, by the way, it tastes amazing, Cory.
Hey, you know what's so awesome? Mike Scola, brother, I know you're listening. You need to create a caricature of you diving in the ocean and wrestling fish, because right now this is an amazing marketing opportunity.
Dude, we'll set him up with our guy. And we'll have our
I'm
guy
telling you,
fucking
dude.
mock
I think
him
he's
up.
missing it.
Yeah.
I think he's missing it.
Yeah.
What you don't want to miss is the 15% off that Mike is offering at
Yes.
shop.bstseafood.com. Use the promo code BIZ, B-I-Z, B-I-S 15, and that goes out to all the listeners. All right, next, Johnny. I know that you like Four Sigmatic. I know you were drinking it before bed to kind of calm down because you are kind of a high-strung individual.
That's true.
Talk about two things about Four Sigmatic. You know, obviously the product that you're using and the branding is epic.
Yeah. So honestly, lately, my girlfriend's a coffee drinker, and she's been hitting the mushroom coffee blend, and I've been sharing that with her. And what I'll say is this: is like it is the most unique and best tasting coffee I've ever had. Now, I am not a typical coffee drinker, but for coffee, there is absolutely no doubt that it is the best tasting. And for everybody who listens, I would imagine the majority drink coffee. If you have not tried Four Sigmatic's mushroom coffee blend yet, honestly, if you haven't tried it, why? You literally save 15%. You pay for coffee anyways, right? You are a Business and Biceps listener. Cory, tell them where they can go, save money, and try the best tasting coffee on the market.
Absolutely, Johnny. I'm going to spell it out for you.
Sure.
It's Four Sigmatic, FOURSIGMATIC.com/biz, B-I-Z, B-I-S 15. That'll give you guys 15% off. And I got to tell you a story. So Ray, my wife, Rachel, she hates mushrooms. Like, she won't eat them. None of her family likes them. And I'm like not a huge mushroom fan, but I'll eat them. It doesn't bother me whether it's portobello or regular. And so, dude, she was totally like, I'm not drinking.
But Cory, what does she say about your mushroom?
I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so she said that it's like one of the I can't even go there. Anyway, so listen, what's amazing though is, yeah, she saw it sitting on the counter for multiple days, actually even a week or so, and she was like fucking against it. And then she started drinking it. The same one that I believe that you're drinking, the one before night, has the cordyceps.
Right.
Is that the one? Yeah, that's the one that kind of comes out. So she was like, man, it mixes really well. I love the sayings they got on the inside of the boxes. It's very intriguing. She read up more on the mushrooms. I love the hashtag on shrooms. Four Sigmatic is a really cool company, and you guys should definitely check them out.
Yep.
All right. Lastly, Vincero Collective. I got to tell you, Johnny, besides having a shoe sponsor, which we're about to make our own shoes, so that happens. Having a watch sponsor, I was pretty pumped about because, John, I like being icy, but for a good price.
Right. Well, the coolest thing about I think Vincero is that every single one of our listeners is in their price range, right? So when you look at their watches, not only are they affordable and their quality, but there's a variety of styles for a variety of different people who have different style. And what I love is you can absolutely, there's certain watches you can only wear to a wedding or a really nice occasion, or that's kind of just bumming around watches. But these you can dress up, you can dress down, and they look so much more expensive than they are. So clearly Vincero is a high growth company. And when you look at a high growth company, you got to say why. Well, the reason why is their product. It looks premium, but the price is so affordable. And it literally, it highlights your outfit, man. I like to wear like a plain t-shirt and a pair of jeans, right? If you throw on a Vincero, it like highlights that outfit. It literally brings it out. It gives it swag. So I love their watches. And normally I'm a higher end watch guy, but I love Vincero, and I think our listeners can realistically use our discount code, which I know you're going to give them, to check one out, man, because it's in everyone's price range.
Yeah. Not only am I going to give them a discount code, John, we're going to tell them where to go. VinceroCollective.com/biceps. So it's VINCERO collective.com/biceps, right? Here's a couple things. In bold italics right here, John, just in. I don't know if it's just in, but it's just in on my desk. It's free worldwide shipping. Not only do the prices start at $139, not only are they dope as shit, and not only will we give you, like if I called you, John Fosco, and said, John, I'm going to give you 15% off a dope watch and you get free shipping, you would say what?
I'm in. Where do I go? Give me the business and biceps code so I can go take advantage and look icy.
And that is biceps at VinceroCollective.com or VinceroCollective.com/biceps. John, now that you're eating fish, you're drinking mushrooms, and you got a dope watch, I think we're going to go back to the show.
Let's do it.
It's halftime. Hey, yo, it's halftime.
Here's one thing Maurice Claret said to me a long time ago, and I tried to clear my throat on mute, and I don't think it worked. So sorry about that, everybody, if you heard that, but because it was real loud, it did mean to me. All right, so don't count another man's money.
Yo,
and Maurice said this to me. Yes. Hey, what, Reese? Yes. I'm dropping the mic back at you. But here's one thing that I was having trouble. The guy will remain nameless, but it was bugging me. And I talked to Reese one day. My consigliere, I call him. You know, back in MP days, he said something to me and he said, G, here's the deal. You got to worry about you, bro. Like you're comparing yourself, you're counting this man's money and it's holding you back. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. But as I was verbalizing it to Maurice, I don't even know that I was necessarily hating, but it was the way he was operating was really bugging me. And it basically, it was just like, yeah, what the fuck am I doing? Like he kind of checked me in a nice way and just kind of made me think about it. And I'm telling you, almost to the second that I understood that, it opened up a whole world for me. Meaning like, you know, it's not really, and I've always been hard on myself on what I'm trying to accomplish and do, but not comparing myself to how other people operate or how much money I think they got or why they got this. What I started to realize, a lot of motherfuckers just fake out here anyway. So you might be just getting yourself all wrapped up on this person got that or that, and they really ain't got shit. So what I started to do is realize like, hey, good for him. Good for that. Boom. It doesn't matter to me no more. I'm worried about me. No one else is worried about me. Like that's what it comes down to. And that might sound like some kind of basic thing, but I've recited it to a lot of people over time since Maurice had hit me with that a few years back. And it's actually helped a lot of people because I think most people, and I think along the way of trying to be a successful person, whatever your definition is, you cannot count that other person's money on the way up. It'll eat at you every fucking time.
Let me give you, I give you a couple stories just to expound on this, right? Cory, I might fucking tattoo that on myself, right? So the only space you can function from is a space of jealousy, and you're not focused on your shit when you're counting another man's money, right?
No.
So if anybody knows me, I'm the biggest Mike Tyson fan, but for me, he just had one thing that was just like I didn't like right about him. I love Mike Tyson, right? But so Don King comes to a guy. Don King goes to fighter A, and he says, hey, I want you to fight these 5 fights. He comes to Mike Tyson. Let's say Mike Tyson. I want you to fight these 5 fights, and I'll give you $150 million, right? So he makes the agreement because he believes like, okay, I'll fight these 5 fights for $150 million. So then he goes and sets up these other fights and he says, hey, you know, I'll have you fight for X. I'll have you fight for Z. I'll have you fight for B. I'll have you fight for C. So you've agreed already to, I'm worth $150 million. I'll fight. That's your agreement. These other fighters have agreed that I'll fight for X. That's your agreement. You cannot get mad that I make the pay-per-view deal. You cannot get mad that I got a better deal for the fight. And you cannot get mad that I negotiated a deal, because your parts was your negotiations and everything. All right. When Mike Tyson would get mad at Don King, I said, you can't get mad at the guy because he gave you the opportunity to make $150 million. Now you get through these fights and now knowing what you know, negotiate something different. but don't call this man a piece of shit when all he did was
Yep.
negotiate, right? That's like, and that's it. And so anytime I've ever went with robbing people, right, it starts off in a space of I'm counting your money. You have something that I want, I think, and we're talking about a physical robbery,
Yep.
right? But it's the same mentality that, okay, me, John, and Cory are on a deal. I care about what I believe I'm worth, what I believe I bring to the table, and what I feel I should deserve. So I should negotiate that, right? I have no concern about what John is making. I have no concern about what Cory is making. Only thing I say is let's be fair. As long as everybody is fair, nobody's getting robbed. But once we break the fair
Yep.
code and we can say, hey, established off these facts, this isn't
Right.
fair. And even if we have some error, hey, can we bend this and make this different based upon facts, not on opinions or how I feel about what you're making and what you're making? But I'm telling every fucking listener, you are in a hater space when you're counting somebody's money. It's not healthy, it's not right, and you're doing a disservice to your friendship when you begin to get in other people's money in their business, and that becomes a thing. I promise you, things will never end well. So even as we're talking on this podcast, I don't care about what John is making. I don't care about what Cory is making. I just do my thing, and my thing is my thing. And whatever comes to me, I'm totally cool with. I'm proud with. I move forward. But I just believe you can never have good feelings towards a person and develop a long-term relationship saying, okay, this person is getting paid that, so fuck this person. It will always be something in your stomach that
Right.
just won't come out well.
I think if people recognize that you're always going to lose if you count another man's money, because just like there's always going to be somebody that's better than you, there's always going to be somebody that's better looking than you, there's always going to be somebody that has something you want, and there's always going to be another man or woman that has more money than you have. Like, these are just facts of life. So if you get hung up on them, you are setting yourself up. You are setting yourself. It's you versus you for mental anguish, pain, frustration. And here's the most dangerous part, guys. If you start counting another man's money, what you try to do is say, well, if you get caught up in it, well, fuck that. I'll prove it. Then you go and you overextend yourself and you buy a house that's too big, right? And then in 6 fucking months, it's in foreclosure. And then the same thing with your car. Your car just got repo. And if you're honest with yourself and you look at the root of why that happened, it happened because your ego was so fucking wrapped up in someone else and trying to beat someone else that you missed, that you weren't focused on you and developing you. And now look at the position you're in because you were focused on another person. It's like all that internal energy, all that internal thought that you could have channeled into bettering yourself, you just went and fucked your life up. You fucked it up, man. So it's like, dude, nothing can come from it. So it's a very good point. It's a very valid quote. And I think everybody needs to kind of think about it for a minute.
Oh, I think they definitely do, because when you're comparing yourself versus someone else, and that's how you're like viewing like your accomplishments. Like, it's kind of like in the sport that I like a lot, which is powerlifting. I go on some of my best meets. I got like 4th in the thing, but I beat my old total. Like, last time I did 1700. This time I want to do 1705. It's just you really got to just put. It's hard to do that. But that's really, I think, long term how you can be the most successful is if you really are if you're just gradually improving yourself.
That's all that
not
matters.
Counting. That's all that matters. And not counting what someone else does.
You take 2 things. John said it, right? You're focused on yourself. You miss time developing on yourself. But then the deep rooted thing is your emotional thing. Like, emotionally, why are your emotions so out of whack that this other person is having more success than you? You know what I'm saying? That goes into like psychologically, like how you feel about yourself. Like if something bothers you that fucking much, and is he getting some attention that you feel that you should be having, or she? You know what I'm saying? But these are things that you can just check in yourself, and if you check them, that thing no longer matters. But back to the time thing, if you're spending time developing yourself, that thing doesn't even bother you. You spend time crafting your vision, putting your shit in order, your steps in order, your task in order, everything that you're supposed to be doing. His business is not going to be your business. Like when you wake up in the top of the morning, if your day is driven on what you have to do from sun up to sundown, the attention that you're paying that person, like that directly distracts you from what you could be doing to basically be further than him. You know what I'm saying? To look at another guy and say, okay, that's my limitation or that's my measuring stick, you're basically insulting yourself. Like, fuck it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
You're choosing to insult yourself.
just my fucking 2 cents.
So quit fucking insulting yourself, everybody out there.
Fuck.
No, yeah, it's a choice. It's like, why are you going to choose to minimize yourself? How's that going to help you, bro? How's that going to help your day to fucking insult yourself? How's
It just deteriorates relationships. It's happened to me a million times. That got hey, it does, because I had guys that are around me that just couldn't quit doing that straight up, and now they're not with me anymore. And I can't help them. They're not training with me. They're not working with me. They literally couldn't quit counting my money.
That's life. Had nothing
to do with them.
Harsh reality of business. And guess what? It's going to keep happening, Cory.
But I'll tell you this, right? But oftentimes people don't see, right? So here we go, right? There's so much other value aside from money from working with you all on this podcast. Like that's what that trips guys.
That's the last thing you even talk about, Reese. You don't even care about that part,
dude. I'm talking about the experience, the people you meet, the different audience you're in front of, the shit that you learn, mentally, physically, and spiritually feeling accountable to 2 other different people, which helps to keep me on track to do other shit. Like if you're getting into a relationship and the money is the only thing that you're getting, I just think as an individual, you have so much more to develop, because they're like, when you understand you're going to get value from people and it's aside from money and that's what you're looking for, that's what you're searching for, and you're just trying to become a better fucking individual, everything else will come from it. I'm a firm believer of it. I don't know if it's like some mystical Harry Potter shit, but the shit happens. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a fucking sorcerer brewing it up, and it's like, it's this magical thing that happens. Go somewhere, become more valuable, become more knowledgeable, become more of an expert, and as you leave where you came to learn from, and you apply that knowledge elsewhere, you know what's going to happen? You'll be so valuable that people will seek you out and say, hey, we need some fucking information from you. And from there, you say, oh, okay, I can charge you for this information. Information is the fucking greatest commodity in the world, right? And so you give it, but you get it here, you learn it from here. I'm around you too. I've never been around John. Me and Cory, we've been around together in many different capacities, but there's so much that I can take and pull from that will create value for myself. And when I leave this place, I apply shit that I know. You know what I'm saying? Like we had a FedEx delivery guy deliver us a package down to our facility the other day. You know, he said, hey, I met Maurice. I heard from Maurice on Business and Biceps. Oh, this is the office. So you know what that didn't turn into? Oh, this is where you at. If somebody needs assistance with mental health and drug and alcohol, what does that come? I heard him talk about it on there. You feel I'm coming from? So, but if it's like, but I don't even get to that stage. If I say, hey man, look, where's my check at? How much do I get paid? When do I get paid?
Yeah, dude, money has an expiration date. Like money has an expiration date. And if you look at how this podcast was started to where it is now, this podcast was started to share knowledge. Money had nothing to do with it. And if you look at where we are now, I think the beauty is this. I think there's nothing more beautiful than people coming together, forming a team, and having a common goal. Right now, we are trying to grow this podcast. Sure, we're competitive. Sure, we're going to climb the charts. Sure, we're going to win. Sure, we're fucking mobilized and stoked. But all along the way, as we're winning, as we're taking these incremental steps upwards, our audience is growing larger. And if we believe that we're sharing honesty, truth, and experience with them, then we are doing good for this world. It may be very fucking tiny, but we're doing the best we can to do good. And oh, by the way, it feels great to have a motherfucking team and say, let's get this. And everything I just said has nothing to do with money. Nothing.
No. But you know what? So I'm going to play devil advocate to a listener, John. A lot of people perceive that that's easy to say because John Fosco has money.
Well, guess what? John Fosco never would have had money if money was John Fosco's driver. John Fosco's driver was, I want more for myself. So give me an opportunity and I will create more for myself so I can take care of my fucking mother. That's it. That's it. And once I got that spot, you better fucking believe I wasn't missing, brother. You better fucking believe. Yeah. And what I learned from that opportunity was I know how to optimize situations. I know how to maximize them, and no one can stop me. I got confidence from that. I took care of my mother from that, which was my ultimate fucking goal. And now I know how to not be stopped.
And you walked right into what I wanted you to say. So that's perfect. Thank you, Johnny. That's what I was looking for. All right, next. One of the other key traits to people that this is like a list of guys that make millions basically is not being stuck in the past. I think that we all have family members or acquaintances that, man, if that just one idea would have went, man, like 12 years, like 95, if I would have had that. And it's like they're still talking about it. It's 2018. And I think that the ability to let things maybe not straight roll off your shoulders, but be able to like detach from them and move on. I'd like to start with you, Maurice, just because of the obvious, I think, things that you've had to do that with how much in the media you've been, football and whatnot. Like, if you would still be stuck on 2000 when y'all won 2002 when you won the national title, there's no way you could operate in the space that you're here right now. And I think that whether it's business, whether it's sports, previous lives, it's like you have to be able to walk away and detach and move on. And a lot of people just really cannot do that. And that's what's holding them back.
Yeah, basically, when you hold on to shit, you're consciously putting your life on replay. You know what I'm saying? You just fucking looping your life. And you replay the same shit, you get to the same feelings, and you got the woe me mentality. Like, if this didn't happen or if that person didn't do this. But if you all heard anything from me, I'm like the humble, confident, arrogant guy, right? I had it in my head that I say
confident. Wait, say that again.
Humble, confident, and arrogant.
Okay, go ahead.
All that shit mixed in one, right? And so I'm humble on the outside, very solid. When you see me in public, like I talk a lot on this podcast, but if you see me in public, I'm like real easygoing. But if we talk and it's on a personal level, I'm trying to motivate you. Like I just practice on people. Motherfucker, I want to motivate you, encourage you. Motherfucker, get more out of life. You know what I'm saying? I'm always giving advice, but there's somewhere in my ego, because I do have one, but I try to keep it in check. Somewhere in my ego, I said, okay, despite all this shit these motherfuckers did to me, despite all the shit that I've done to myself, despite every fucking thing, considering the circumstances, I'm going to show a motherfucker how you become successful with all of the shit that you're not supposed to win from. You know what I'm saying? We're talking about your background. We're talking about your felony. We're talking about your neighborhood. We're talking about the lack of your education. We're talking about brokenness in relationships. We're talking about trust issues with people. We're talking about so many societal issues that are negatives in our society. I want to show a motherfucker that despite all fucking circumstances, despite having trouble with housing, having trouble with contracts, having trouble with everything, that supreme optimism, I'm going to make it, right? And Cory, you remember the days when I was talking to you. Remember the days when I had to humble myself to go outside the same stadium I ran touchdowns in front of. I'm selling fucking T-shirts and pictures outside of the motherfucker, right? I'm like,
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, these are the days. Supreme humility. I'm going to fucking fairs, and my family's coming with me. And I'm not going to sell no dope. You know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna fucking sell autographs, sell pictures, sell products that I have created, and I'm going to go out here and get it. Very humbling, very hard to do, a fucking grind. But just like John said, his was for his mother, mine was for my family, right? I got to go ahead and get my family together. I got to go ahead and let go of the past and build myself into a new future, right? And I would see motherfuckers, and they'd be like, "Damn, this dude fell off," right? I can see it in their face. But in my mind, I was like, man, I'm going to where the fuck I ultimately want to be. Like, you don't even fucking get it. You're looking at me like I'm a fucking loser. I'm looking at you like, thanks for this transaction because I get to get towards the next step, right? You know what I'm saying? So there's people who don't have the humility because they're too cool to go sell something, right? They have no fuck. The people who like great salespeople don't need shit because they can just sell shit. They're themselves. That's why they sell shit, right? I can see why John say he's a great salesman because he has a fucking personality. So people like, and that's a whole different conversation, but throughout that time, I had to give all that shit up and recreate myself. But through creation, you have to have humility to do the simple and basic shit where you know that you can go make a sale and create yourself and get a product and go out there and hustle. And just through that, just through the rebirth of myself, that's where I'm at now. And I use my story to say, motherfucker, it don't matter what they do to you. It don't matter what you did to yourself. When you make the fucking conscious choice that I'm gonna build myself into whatever I fucking want to become, that is like the fuck. That's American, baby. I don't give a fuck if you're Democrat, Republican, white, black, urban, suburban. We all want the same shit, and it's basic success in humanity and honor and what the fuck you do. And I got that, and I feel like I'm successful. I don't need a fucking humongous house, which I'm gonna build a fucking humongous house just because I want to, but. I'm serious. That's just I want a compound. I told Cory I seen 80 acres out by his house, and I said,
"Oh,
yeah, he got about 8, and he wanted about like 80 grand for it." I was like, "Whoa, that'd be cool to get like a fucking land and just have fun with your friends." But that's my piece, and I talk a fucking lot. I'll let y'all go from there. Sorry.
Good, Johnny. I'd like to hear that from you, Johnny. I think that's honestly, I think it's a huge problem for people.
I agree. And I think it's all about understanding why letting go is mandatory, right? Like you have to let go and you have to forgive, right? So when you think about your past and you think about situations where you perceive or I perceive that we were wronged and old business relationships or friendships, we have to let go of those situations. We need to take with us the lessons that came from those situations that we felt we were wronged or whatever, because that's where the wisdom lies, right? But when you don't let go of something, when the past replays like a record spinning in your head, all you're doing is essentially you're handcuffing your mind. You're handcuffing your mind because you tell me how you can focus on the present and the future when the past is spinning like a record in your head. And I will tell you this. Some people say, okay, that's easy to say, but how do you do it? Here's how I believe you do it. You say, who are the people and situations that hurt me in the past? Who are they? Who the fuck are they? And then want to know what you do? You take a lesson from my man Jesus, and you just forgive them. It's that simple. You just forgive them, wish them the best, and let go. I'm not telling you need to think about them. You just forgive them, understand that they are human, and by default, if you are human, you are flawed. I am flawed. We are all flawed. We have all hurt people. So those who have hurt you, forgive them. Let go. Because when you let go of them, then those mental handcuffs, motherfucker, they're broken. And you can move forward. And guess what you could do when you move forward? You can focus on yourself, your present, and your future, and you are free, baby. You are free.
Between you talking about your man Jesus and Reese talking about Socrates and drinking the hemlock.
I love that motherfucker. Hey, just think about that. They were like, yeah, drink this motherfucker. Like, fuck that. I'd had to try to run for it or something. I'm not about to drink.
Unbelievable. Here's what I think is the mentality, right? When you're constantly looking in the past or not letting go or shoulda, woulda, coulda and not moving on, it's really you're in that victim mentality, right? Yes, the victim mentality doesn't do nothing for you. The victor mentality is when you move on and say, cool, all right, yeah, I was a national champion. Yeah, that was before. Boom, now I'm about to build this multi-million-dollar business, which you're doing, Reese, in a positive manner, right? If you still said, why didn't I play in the league longer? Why didn't, fucking Ohio State, bow down to me? You'd be talking about being the victim, but you're not a victim. You're a fucking winner, right? That's why you were a national champion. That's why you're a winner in life. If I look at you, and Johnny, just the same as you, dealing with the addiction and stuff. Like, if you let that truly get you, your gifts would have never been seen to the world. Yes. Brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I love about it every day, dealing with you, because that almost got away from you, man. And you fucking rebounded and have crushed it since then. And that's motivating for me as your partner. And if I look at myself, it's like, if I just thought, you know what, I'm just supposed to stay in this trailer If I just thought like, yo, I'm just supposed to do the status quo but be mad about that I didn't one day give it a chance, that lifting thing. Because in retrospect, right, if I would have never gave it a shot, look how big fitness is right now.
Huge.
Look how big it is right now. Dude, are you kidding me? If I would have never gave myself a fucking chance, if I wouldn't have saw through and acted like a victim, like, oh, I got the wrong card, I'm born in the wrong spot, dude, I would be looking back right now, wherever I would be, thinking, look at Instagram, fitness, supplements, like all these opportunities I would have missed, right? If I would have had that mentality. So if you're sitting there on this podcast right now and you got that victim mentality, you better fucking wake up. Because check it out, there's a different way to look at things. And if you could be upset that you didn't get that one or this, that, whatever, you got to drop it and you got to look at yourself different. And if you don't get out of that mindset, it's just not going to happen.
I want to say something about you real quick, Cory, because I don't want to say you missed it, because I think you hit it right on the head. You said fitness is huge, but fitness to me isn't why you succeed. You succeed because even if it wasn't huge, you'd succeed. You succeed because of the things we talk about. You and Clay Guida, but you're like, I would say you are the most positive person who's always like, when the chips are down and things might be tough, at least from my experience, like, you're always there and you always have perspective and it's always calm and you're always leading. Forget fitness for a second. You're always leading with the fact that you want to offer to help. And that to me is why you are experiencing what you're experiencing. We talked to a CEO of a very promising company the other day, and he was like, man, you're lucky to be in good company with Cory. And I was like, fucking absolutely. And this guy was like talking to Cory like fucking Cory was Elon Musk, and it
he was. I was tripped out a little bit about it.
And it really made me think. It's like, you do the little things better than anybody I know, and your consistency on doing those things, I believe, is why not only are you successful professionally, but you're successful personally. And that's where I put my value, like in terms of how we relate. I know you're going to be successful professionally always. That's a given. But you're successful personally, and that is such a challenge for me. So I learn by observation. So yeah, I just I commit.
Thanks, Johnny. I mean, that means a lot, dude. And it was that conversation you're speaking about, which was yesterday, did trip me out a little bit. It actually kind of made me uncomfortable, to be honest with you, because I try my best, no matter how. And this is just another takeaway, I think, as you guys experience some successes. Like, no matter how big something gets, if you can act small. You're not even trying to act small. That's just really how you should be. That's just another way to say humble, right? Like, to me, straight up, at the Arnold, John, to see anybody standing there that can say something in a kind manner that I had, affected their life, whether it's weight loss or something I said here, or they want to take a picture with me, is not only like humbling, but it's almost kind of funny to me, and not in a bad way, but in a way to like, I can't believe it still. And anytime you start believing your own hype, you're fucked anyway. But it's one of those things that it's, I don't know, man. I have so much gratitude for this entire thing. And a lot of these things that we've spoke about today, I don't know how I came about them, but I did a lot of these things very naturally along the path. And I'm thankful for it. And I think it's because I always was dialed into really what I wanted. And these things that are continuing to happen, and the amount of like reach we're having with this podcast, I'm so passionate because I believe these people can experience these same things that we talk about and learn from our the way. Like, look, I'm not proud to say that I was basically fucking counting some other dude's cash. Of course not. You know what I mean? In that other point. But I had to get through that to break through, because I've seen people can't get through with me and they can't break through. You know what I mean? So I want people to learn. I want people to learn from it, man. And thanks for saying those things. I appreciate it, man. All right. Well, now that
Well,
we got kumbaya going on. We good?
Yeah, no, what I was gonna say, it's sorry to the listeners, but I do have to get rolling in a second. But I'll tell you this, man, and I'm a very spiritual person, and I don't have a bunch of distractions going on in my life. And I promise you, man, from the spirit and the basic harmony and what I believe that we are giving to people, I don't think that it will be a problem with us moving up the charts because I believe that real shit resonates with people, and I
Yeah.
think that they share it. And I'm just observant like everybody else, and I see what's out here in comparison to what we do. And I'm not counting their money or counting their followers or counting their pockets or anything like that. But when you're talking about just value, because I was one of those guys on the journey searching for other guys to motivate, inspire, and give me information. And it's just some of the shit that we're giving. And I think stories, real stories, are what inspires people. I think stories
Yep.
are what get people through what they relate to because that's real. And I just think that, like, as you all were sitting here talking, I said, man, this shit is going somewhere. I don't know where the fuck it's going. I don't know where it's going to travel to, but I think that
To the top, Reese. To the
I
top.
think this motherfucker connects to more people than it will over a period of time. And I want to tell you, I love y'all for that.
Yeah, man. Ditto.
Oh,
Me
thanks,
too,
Reese.
man.
Well, hey, Reese, we know where you got to go, but here's what I'm going to wrap it up with is the last kind of point I was going to make. And if you're listening still, which I know you are, people all over the planet, is that you're trying to improve constantly, which all three of us are always doing. And if you're dialed into Business and Biceps, you're reading the books that we talked about, a couple, or your own things that motivate you, if you continually are trying to improve and you pay attention to these other things, the things that we did, and had to fix or didn't do well or do well now, like you can take some real key takeaways from this podcast and you're continuing to improve all the time, it will lead to you being a more successful person, whatever that definition is in your mind. And I think that's why I'm challenging us every week, multiple times a week, to try to bring things that you guys can put into your life. And I'm proud of that. And I think we did that today, guys. So I want to commend both you guys. Kind of final thoughts. Johnny, you got anything else you want to shout out before we get out of here? And Reese got to go to a meeting.
No. I mean, I just would say that I think, man, I think this is an episode you may want to listen back to a couple times because although we got off some points, all directions we went into, I think we're focused on listener value and listener takeaway. And whenever I feel that like an episode is just giving, man, I'm smiling. I know you guys can't see me, but I'm smiling on the other end. So yeah.
I believe it. Hey, this episode is brought to you by shop.bstseafood.com. Make sure you check out our boy Mikey Scola and BIZ 15. Give you 15% off on this amazing cart. Now, I went in there the other day and bought 10 more pounds of fish, everybody. If you want to be ripped like John Fosco, you got to go to shop.bstseafood.com. All right, check it out. If you're not drinking Four Sigmatic, then you're probably not as focused as you want to be. I mean, I'm just saying, it only has 50 megs of caffeine, but the magic mushrooms, not the kind you're thinking of, a whole different kind. Make no mistake, they're not hallucinogenics, but they will help you with the clarity and focus. You guys got to make sure you go to Four Sigmatic, FOURSIGMATIC.com/biz, BIZBIS 15. We'll give you 15% off your order. And our new sponsor, Vincero Collective. We'd like to give you guys 15% off these amazing watches with the promo code BICEPS. Make sure you check out VinceroCollective.com, and it is VinceroCollective.com/biceps. And we appreciate you guys. Give us a review, 5-star review, leave a positive comment, share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel, and of course, guys, Johnny, you do the
there's I want to ask two people a question. One of them's name is Cory, the other one's is Maurice. Guys, Cory and Maurice, Cory Gregory, Maurice Claret. Can the podcast be stopped?
There's no fucking way. Come on, guys. Stop.
Hey! During that show, I had to piss so bad. I pissed in 2 Monster cans. Yes. Yeah, I swear to God.
Hey, that's on record. Leave that in. For the fucking
come on, man! Come on!
That's amazing. That is amazing.
White